Morning Bruce. So, yesterday's work. This is your original concept on the back wall with the shelves continuing round in an L shape. It will be possible, if we know in advance, to close that gap there so you have a continuous L shape. That's actually created by this 500mm shelf here. There will be a way around this. I've done this kind of thing before. So what else have I shown here? I've shown some basket shelves here, just if you wanted to sort of mix up what you were storing here and you wanted household products, cleaning products, anywhere in this space, this is the ideal product for that. Okay, let's move on to a different version. I'm actually slightly going, that was C9, this is C5, much simpler presentation of that. So you've got the hanging continuing round the L. If you need hanging space, additional hanging space, you've got 2 meters of hanging there. That's going to give you an extra 600mm of hanging. Hanging in an L shape it works, but access is impractical. So if you are, unless you are absolutely desperate for hanging space, I would not be doing an L shape of hanging. L shape of shoes, yes, a bit more practical. You are going to have, if we really close up this L shape, you are going to have difficulty reaching the pair that are in the corner, but it's one pair as opposed to 20 or 30 hanging items that are difficult to access. Okay, let's keep moving. That is C5. I'll be giving you drawings of all of these. This is C6. Now this is where things start to get a bit different. By having gliding shoe racks, it's going to be significantly more expensive. I'll give you a price for one of these with gliding shoe racks, just so we've set the ballpark. I can't price every individual design until we get to a final one, but I can give you prices for indicative designs, and it's important to have a sense of how much this will put the price up. But it's a good design. You'll notice on all of these I've figured out a way of using right into this space. Now obviously we've got some objects here. Perhaps I'm going to do some final sort of checks in here to make sure I'm confident that this is going to work. I think we can have a straight run of 4 there, flat shelves or gliding shoe racks. On the other side, because I want to be able to have these racks pulling out, gliding out, it changes slightly what we do on this wall. So I've suggested basket shelf. You can probably tell by now that I like that product. A storing board. This model shows clipped on tubs and containers and loose things for, I don't know, bits and pieces, watches, cufflinks, whatever. But you can also get all sorts of hooks and other organisational products for a storing board, and then some 300mm flat shelves. Okay, let's keep moving. Okay, so this is actually one of my earlier versions of a gliding shoe rack, and I opted to show some basket shelves in this area, and then I realised, well, there's no reason why you shouldn't do the gliders all the way through. It's going to be, if we have flat shelves or basket shelves at this end, it's going to be slightly easier to manage any issues around these plugs, but I seem to remember that these are actually very low. They're very low profile, these plugs and features here. My gut feeling is that they're not going to cause problems, and we've got a designed space there of 100mm. So So up at this end, yes, a storage board and a storage track. You could have storage tracks plural, you could have heavy duty sort of hooks on a storage, see those hooks there. You could have a separate track up here with just hooks on. Obviously, you don't have to have the storage board. These are good for mops. My CAD model is slightly fudged here, but that rubber grip actually grips the handle. There's two sizes. It can hold Hoover handles, a vacuum cleaner handle, mops, brushes, all sorts of stuff like that. Again, have to be slightly mindful of how we're using this, because it's going to stop those gliding out if you have a great big heavy yard broom, which is unlikely. So yes, I think that's where I've got to now. So I think the key thing is look at the price difference between flat shelves and gliding shoe racks. That is probably then going to make the decision for us on whether we want flat shelves or gliders. I would say gliders are going to give you approximately, I don't think they will double the capacity of shoes. They will probably add something like 50 to 70% capacity over that wall. So we have to look at whether the additional cost is justified there. Okay, I'm going to send you some drawings, I'm going to send you some quick screen grabs, and then let's push this conversation forward. Now also, please remember that we can take the approach that we're just going to build a skeleton, whether it's on this wall with just this, or just some shoe gliders to see how they feel, or on this wall we could just get this tracking, get the verticals in, one or two shelves, and then get a feel for what else we might want to do with this. We can build that to accommodate 600 wide components or 450 wide components, and still work on a sort of uncommitted skeletal approach. Hope that's useful. Bye bye.